Hey, can anyone hear me?
Yes, Kat. Hi, how are you?
Oh, cool. Awesome. Hi.
Hi.
Is that you, Macy?
Yes, it is.
Hello.
Hi, it's good to see you
Well,
virtually.
yeah, I was like, I can't see you, but it's good to hear you. Hang on, let me just pull up my agenda. There it is.
Pat, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Hi, Nikki.
Very good. Just confirming.
Oh, it just started snowing pretty good out there. Let's see. Looks like we're just waiting on Sam and Alex. Alex, you're not on, are you? Oh, that's weird. It's like her name is over on the side. Let me text her too. We're gonna have a very small group tonight, so just trying to see if the other two who are SVPDS are on their way. I'll give them like a couple more minutes and then we'll get going. Oh, hey, Lindsay.
Hello.
Shoot, was it? Maybe Sam wasn't coming. Hang on.
I had to download the app, so that's why it took a while. I don't know if other people may be running into the same issue.
Yeah, Alex said she was having trouble getting on, but she's trying. Yay. Hey, Alex.
Hi, sorry. WebEx hates all my devices. I don't use
know.
it for work and it really hates them.
Yeah. No, I had to download a whole new thing this time too. So I think we're still waiting for Sam, but let's get going, especially now that we have quorum. Oh, Sam's on his way, so he'll be here in just a moment.
And I'm taking notes for Casey this time. So
Right, thank you very much, appreciate it. Hang on, let me just pull up my agenda. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. Okay, great. So let's do roll call. Jesse.
Here.
Lindsay.
Here.
Alex.
here.
Kat is here. Kate, Sam,
I'm here.
perfect timing. Casey and CT. All right, let's get going. Oh, and we have an additional member over in Jesse's screen there. Always good to have
Welcome.
the youth PROSAB.
Just grooming her.
Who we're working for here?
Yeah, totally. Hi. All right, so first order of business is to approve the minutes from our last meeting, which was in December, not January. We didn't have a meeting in January, so no minutes to approve. Would anyone like to motion to approve the December minutes?
I'll motion to approve the December minutes.
Cool. Anybody want to second
Seconded.
that? Great. All right, so we have a second, so I will call the vote. Kat, yes. Sam?
Yes.
Lindsay?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Jesse?
Yes.
Minutes approved. Lovely, thanks y'all. Okay, the next item on the agenda is any public comment on non-agenda items or letters from the public. Correct me if I missed any, but I don't believe we got any letters from the public emailed in this last month. And I don't believe it looks like we have anyone on for public comment, but let me just ask to triple check. So would anyone like to make public comment on a non-agenda item? Fantastic. All right, so tonight the meeting order is slightly different than usual because we have Jennifer Mattson, town attorney, here to talk to us a little bit about the pump truck ballot issue and things surrounding sort of what we can and can't do since that's going to be on the ballot. And then after that, so we have our discussion items first, basically, is what I'm saying. And then after that, we'll have the SE group on to talk about the comprehensive plan. I believe that's the plan. And then after that, we'll go into some of the other stuff that's led by PROSAB folks. So yeah, so let me just turn it over to, so I believe, Jesse, were you going to give us like a quick 5-minute, like what happened, and then we'll turn it over to Attorney Mattson. Is that good? Awesome. Well, take it away.
Yeah, so basically we put the pump track on the ballot at the last BOT meeting. And that was as a result of just a lot of public comments requesting that we do that, that were sent to the BOT. And after consulting with Attorney Mattson, and Attorney Mattson, you're welcome to jump in and correct anything that I say that's incorrect here. But basically, all we're doing is doing a popularity check. So the BOT is not actually bound by the vote. And because there's no real legislation that's real at this point, the pump track is all just really in the discussion item category of creating like there's no building permit that's been issued or anything that could be overturned or approved by the public. So it's really just kind of a temperature check on if this is a popular idea or not. So that's one thing. And then the other thing is just that there was some discussion around the language of what it is that we are actually specifically asking of the public with this ballot question. And that is, does the public support building an asphalt pump track in between the basketball court and the parking lot at Chipeta Park? And so there was a little bit of discussion around that. There was public comment, and ultimately the board approved that ballot language unanimously. And then there was some question around, what we can and can't do, what staff can and can't do to advocate for or lobby for we can't do any work on this, and we'll let Jennifer Madsen kind of fill in the details. But that's the gist of how things went with the BOT and how we ultimately made that decision and put that on the ballot. So happy to answer any
Should I jump
questions
in?
or more
And
details. But
I popped the language in the chat. I just took it from the agenda request that Miranda put together. There's a bunch more information in there too, if people haven't had a chance to read it yet.
Well, thank you for having me. And what Jesse said about the question is absolutely right as far as the legal implications. The Board of Trustees can send a question to the voters. It's called an advisory question. And it is like a temperature check to see what is the public's interest in this asphalt pump track. It isn't binding, but you would imagine if it received a significant amount of support, that there would be political pressure on the board to move forward with the pump track. So I'll just touch briefly on the Fair Campaign Practices Act, and that's really the law that applies to campaigning and what you can and can't do. And what the Fair Campaign Practices Act says, and we all refer to it as the FCPA, is that you can't use public money to urge voters to vote in favor or against a ballot question. And I mean, it makes sense if you think about it, because the Board of Trustees has sent a question to the voters, and, it would really be premature to use the public's money, taxpayer money, to advocate for that ballot question. So what does this mean for you all as members of this advisory board? You're appointed members. You can't use town facilities or town meeting spaces to advocate as a member of PROSAB in favor of the ballot question, in favor or against. And so that would mean that in your meetings, you can't, when you're acting as a member of PROSAB, you can't really urge people and advocate for this ballot question, because you're using town resources. Town pays for WebEx, town pays for, its facility space. Also, any use of the town's website to advocate for the pump track would also be against the Fair Campaign Practices Act. So putting a message on the website as to why somebody should vote for or against the pump track could lead to an FCPA violation. And then staff time cannot be used for the ballot question to advocate for or against. That said, all of you are, you have your First Amendment rights. You are citizens in the town of Nederland, and wearing your private citizen hat, you can certainly talk to people about the pump track, and you can give your opinion about the pump track and say, advocate as much as you want your side. But that's, as an individual that you're doing that. Can you say at the same time, I am a member of PROSAB, and I want you to know, as a private citizen, a member of PROSAB, do I think you should vote for this? And then, yes, absolutely, I think you should vote for this, whatever your opinion is. You're not using town resources just by saying you're a member of PROSAB. So it's really the money piece that we're looking at, and whether you're using town resources. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I
Jesse?
do.
Oh.
This will only be relevant to one meeting, but if someone wanted to raise the topic in our March meeting, since that's between now and the April election, do we just, how does that work?
So how would the topic come up? Maybe give me some idea
there
of
would be
how it would.
Yeah, there would be two ways for it to come up. One would be if a member of PROSAB put it on the agenda, which I guess we can just say, like, let's not do that for the next month. But the other way would be not in our control, which would be like if a member of the public brought it up during public comment.
So do you usually respond to people's questions? I mean, I guess you're asking if somebody asks you a question during public comment about, you know, you do respond to questions?
Yeah, I mean, if someone asks a question or, yeah.
Yeah, so you can, I mean, that is an exception that you can respond. If somebody asks you a question, you can respond to that question.
Oh, okay, cool, thank you.
So Jennifer, I have a quick question. My understanding is that we're essentially, it's our best interest to stop work on forwarding the work of the pump track until the ballot initiative is run. Is that correct?
Well, what's the work that you're doing?
Well, like we've already paid to have the design work done, and that's been paid and that's contracted, and they're working on that contract on that, fulfilling their side of that contract, the design company that was hired. And so you know, this board is essentially overseeing their work, and so I guess that's something that Sam and I have been the champions of. That's part of our strategic goals. And that's kind of being, you know, advanced gradually, little by little. And I kind of understood from our BOT meeting that we're essentially supposed to not work on that at this point. And, you know, I guess what I heard was that, you know, Nikki and Miranda and Macy probably shouldn't work on that because they're town staff. But, you know, Sam and I working as PROSAB, that's already like something that's in motion that has some momentum behind it. And, you know, it's kind of just easy to let it continue to play out. And I was wondering too, just because this is just an advisory question, you know, if it's so strict as all of that. So maybe you could just speak to some of that for us. And Sam, I don't mean to cut you off there.
No, I was interrupting you, but let me add just one thing to it because there is some like specific context. For example, we have another rendition of the 2D design to put before the PROSAB board, which we would have done at this meeting, essentially.
To get their approval.
For approval to move to the 3D designs, is that the kind of thing that we should, you know, that's a good example of stopping work on it. Like, should we stop that for the moment?
Yeah, I think that as far as talking about it in a public meeting, I mean, I think there's a couple of issues at play. One is the Fair Campaign Practices Act and using public money to urge people to vote for it. But then there also is probably the other sentiment, which is just, you know, maybe a good political practice of if you're asking people if they want you to do this, and you're working on it, essentially you're saying, it seems to me like maybe the message is we're going to do this regardless of what you say.
Sure. I mean, from a political standpoint, that might be the case, but I guess I'm just curious about the legal standpoint more than anything.
Well, I mean, so somebody would have to argue that by continuing to work on it, and continuing to spend public money on it, which you would be spending public money because of the design professionals, right? No?
No, because they asked to get paid in full up front, so that's all
Oh.
been spent already.
It's been spent. Well, so your meeting space, you're using public funds. So let's just take that issue. Someone would have to argue that by using your meeting space to talk about the issues, to move it forward, that could be perceived as advocating in favor of the pump track. Whether somebody would say that is true, that is a violation of the Fair Campaign Practices Act. I don't know if this issue has ever come up. So a very conservative opinion would be not to bring it up at the next meeting.
And the liberal opinion would be to go ahead.
Well, yes, if you're risk adverse, and you know, you want to advance the issue, then try it. But it's 1 month.
Yeah, I'm personally fine with waiting until April, after
Yeah,
the
it's fine.
April election. I don't think, I just kind of wanted to understand the do's and don'ts so that we don't take heat from our fellow board members for not bringing it
Yeah.
next month.
And
Yeah.
even, I mean,
Well, I mean, I like, just for what it's worth, my own like personal opinion is if there's no like huge major downside to just waiting, like I think we should probably wait. Just this is such like a, you know, this issue tends to, the more transparent and like conservative we can be around sort of engaging on this issue, if it's okay to wait, like if we're not gonna like lose millions of dollars or something, like I think we should just wait.
We're not.
Good. That would be weird, but yeah.
Good to ask. You never know.
Yeah. But is that okay with other people? Like, I'm guessing.
I'm fine with that. I have another question about the scope of this, but I'm an attorney, so it's fun to see someone else get asked the annoying legal questions who's not me. This is delightful. Get a break.
it's not annoying. I did characterize it as annoying.
That's very kind of you. Yeah, I feel like it's there's a spectrum of risk. I'm curious, are we just allowed to criticize the decision to put it on the ballot? Is that a misuse of public resources?
Are you allowed to criticize?
In my capacity as a PROSAB member, I know I can do so as a citizen.
Well, again, I think if you would be criticizing it, you might be urging people not to vote in favor of it. Or is that are you just talking about that it shouldn't be on the ballot?
Yeah, I'm saying like from a fundamental like principle proposition, I'm opposed to putting issues like this on the ballot. Is that
Okay.
prohibited?
Well, is this something that you'd want to discuss in this meeting or outside of the meeting?
I mean, I kind of do, because when we start putting every single recreational asset to a public vote, when we have an entire advisory board and I mean, I'm doing it right now, so you can tell me if I'm exposing myself to liability here, but yeah, I just think it's an interesting discussion to have as a group that we could certainly have after April. And the decision's been made, and I wish it hadn't been made the way it was, but yeah. Nikki's nodding her
I think
head, so she
Absolutely,
agrees with me.
Alex. I'm tired of fighting the pump track. It should be something easy, and it's apparently not.
Right. Like now we're gonna put like a swimming pool on the ballot next, I guess,
Yeah.
or a new trail on the ballot, or like an upgraded
What are we going to do at the
on the
range?
ballot, and like it's governance by net heads, which is not efficient or effective.
Well said.
So I would say, again, that's something that could come across as urging people, you know, one way or the other. And, to have all of the data, it might be nice to wait until your April meeting to talk about it.
Understood. Thank you.
There is another Fair Campaign Practices Act issue, and that is if you are intending to spend $200 or take contributions of $200 or more to advocate on behalf of an issue, then you have to register an issue committee, and you'd have to do disclosures under the Fair Campaign Practices Act. I don't think it doesn't seem like any of you are going to do that. Jesse has already gotten the email about that, so I won't go into any detail unless people have questions.
I don't know, man. They come up.
Hey, could I respond to Alex? I appreciate your feedback, Alex. And I'd like to hear if anybody else has some feedback on that, because I kind of made the decision with Sam to move forward and put that on the ballot. And that was the last time I could actually put something on the ballot. And I didn't have time to, well, I would have had to get your all's blessing at this meeting, and the timing didn't work out. And so it was a tough choice, but I just felt that that was the right thing to do at the time. And but yeah, I totally kind of really understand that side of the argument too. And so, like, if other people feel the same way, I'd love to hear that, just so that, for future issues, I can kind of, just take that into consideration more. And I feel like that was a heavy consideration, and that was my position after our last time that this was discussed. And there was one note that got sent into the BOT that was a handwritten note, and just like asking for for it to be put on the ballot. And it was kind of like the straw that kind of broke my back on my holding out on that. And I kind of caved on that. And I feel that it's, in the long run, it's going to be better for us. And like I said, and Jennifer confirmed that it is non-binding, and also because this has become a lightning rod issue in the town, we have some other viable locations that have come forward from BVSD, actually, that the possibility of putting it at the high school, which I think that the design could actually be transferred over, because it's also a flat location. My first choice is still to put it there, but or where we have it, but it was a tough. So yeah, I guess I just want to say I appreciate hearing that feedback from you, Alex.
And
You've already, my
and
opinion.
can I
100%
add something?
agree with Alex. Sorry. I think it's
Oh,
very
I just
sticky.
wanted to add something. Sorry. Just for context too, and this is something that Jesse probably knew about, and that is that there was a resident who had submitted an initiative petition to the town clerk to ask for this to be put on the ballot. And it's, the way that it was submitted, it wasn't submitted as a legislative question. And initiative petitions can only be in the form of a legislative question. The question as it's drafted is really advisory, but if a resident were to ask, it's more of an administrative function of the town and not a legislative function. And so it was rejected by the clerk. So just some additional background information.
I have a question regarding just reaching out to PROSAB members. Like, I do collaborate with Sam a fair amount, so I have good access to Sam's brain. So but not the rest of you, Kat. I kind of have decent access to you. We've exchanged some text messages, but I'm wondering how everyone else feels about just if we could all share text messages. And I wouldn't mind just being able to kind of do informal polls or of other PROSAB members on things here and there. I don't know if that's a violation of sunshine laws or anything like that, but I would certainly love to have the ability to call somebody and ask about a certain idea that I might be thinking about when we're not in a meeting. And I don't know if people are open to sharing their contact information with me or with all of us if we all had our one another's contact info.
Well, I'll just chime in. Obviously, it's fine by me, like for everybody.
Yeah, and I think just to the broader question, because I was wondering about this too, like in the context of we can't talk about the pump track as PROSAB, but like what it okay, so two things. One is I think Jesse and Attorney Madsen, please correct me if I'm wrong, or Macy, but I believe the answer to that is as long as it's one-on-one, it's fine. Right? Like we can't have a group text, obviously, or like anything like that. But if Jesse is reaching out to people one-on-one, I believe that's fine.
It's fine. And can I just clarify really quick? It is okay
Please.
because there's only two of you talking. And so it's not a meeting. But the issue can be where you come into a meeting, a PROSAB meeting, and you make a decision on something and there's no discussion. And so it's clear that all of you have talked two to two. You know, there's been kind of a game of telephone and you've all relayed how everybody's going to vote, and there's no public discussion. And so the decision isn't transparent. You're missing that transparency piece. So that's where there can be an issue.
Thanks. Yeah, and then I guess my other question was, I know it's only like a month or whatever, but how to put this? So sunshine law precludes us from talking in more than groups of two outside of this meeting about PROSAB stuff, right? But if, say, 3 people want to talk about the ballot issue as citizens, is that still 3 people on this board want to, like, say Sam and Jesse want to have another person join them, is that also not allowed? Because even though we can't engage in the ballot question as PROSAB members, we still are PROSAB members?
Explain a little bit more about what the conversation is or what that meeting is. I mean,
I'm completely making this up, but like this was just my first thought when I saw this come up. So say Jesse and Sam want a third member of PROSAB to meet for coffee to talk about how on their own personal time to like get the word out about like facts about the pump track or that sort of thing before the vote happens. Is that also disallowed because we're still PROSAB members?
So, for example, say you meet for coffee and you want to put together maybe talking points to meet with your neighbors and talk about the pump track, advocate for the pump track. I think that's fine because you're not really, I mean, you are talking about public business, but again, you're talking about advocating for a ballot question. So it is different. It's not something that's going to be on your meeting. So I would say that that's okay.
Gotcha. Interesting. Cool. We have about 2 or 3 more minutes for this topic. Although if people have like questions, we can go a little bit over, but does anybody else have any key questions for Attorney Madsen? Ari does.
All right, do you have questions?
Hi, Ari. All right.
Well,
I
thank
think
you.
that- yeah.
Thanks for letting me join. And if anybody thinks of something after the meeting, feel free to get in touch with Macy or Miranda, and they can share your question with me.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. So the next on our agenda are our friends from SE Group. I see Aiden and Caleb, I believe. We haven't met, so welcome. There is some information in the agenda for all the PROSAB members, but I'm going to let the SE Group take it away.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. I'm Aiden Eichhoff. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, great. I joined a little early on that, so I got to hear some great conversation and learn a lot. So thank you for that. The comprehensive plan update process started in, I want to say, November, December timeframe. This meeting today is part of our initial engagement phase. We had an open house back in January, had some great attendance at that. We do have an online survey open that I'll make sure gets out. Miranda and Peter should have pushed it out already, but if you haven't taken it, please do and share that with your channels. But today we want to mostly just connect with you and figure out how you are or aren't using some of the comprehensive plan recommendations and objectives, kind of hear about how this board works generally, and then what some of your main priorities and projects are, any successes that you've had, any challenges that you've had, so that we can just kind of start understanding the role of this board and how we see it moving forward. And then if we have time at the end, I know that a next step is to update the current Parks and Recreation, Open Space and Trails Master Plan. So if we can just chat about that at the end, if we have time, that would be great. Any other questions about just broadly the process before we jump in? Perfect. Let's see. Okay, there's Caleb. Perfect. Okay, so I would like to just go around with the board members here and just get a little bit of your specific role on the board and maybe any specific projects and priorities that you are working on. Kat, you want to start?
Sure. Hi, I'm Kat. I'm the chair.
Lindsay, you're next on my screen.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Ute, and I'm a board member, and I'm working on the volunteer initiative.
Thank you. Jesse?
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm Jesse. I'm on the board of trustees, and I'm the liaison to Parks and Rec and Open Space Advisory Board.
Perfect.
Add in what you're working on too, like anything specific for everybody.
Yeah, I'm working on the pump track specifically with Sam.
Nikki?
I think you're calling me. I'm the parks manager in town, so yeah. I work on a lot of stuff.
So are you are you town staff then, or?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great. Perfect. Sam?
I'm Sam, and I am working on specifically at the moment the pump track, and then with Alex and Miranda and Nikki, the Parks Recreation and Open Space, the PROST. I'm like, does that thing add up to the actual, what it's called? The master plan, essentially. We're rewriting that. So I feel like that's potentially a bit relevant here in some ways.
Absolutely. Alex?
Hi, Alex Zabrick, PROSAB board member, like Sam said, working on the PROST with Nikki and Miranda, and then also working with the rink and tennis folks on potentially securing grant money to upgrade that facility.
Nice, thank you. And is this a full crew today, or are we missing anyone?
No, I was going to say we're unfortunately missing 3 people tonight who would be really wonderful for you to get input from too. So I'm happy to I don't know, send you their emails or I'm not sure what would work best, but so CT, Casey, and Kate are all missing this evening.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we are happy to send over the list of questions and they can pick and choose whatever they feel most interested in providing feedback about. So thank you. Okie dokie. I do definitely want to talk about the previous PROS, but just given that this is the comprehensive plan focus, I want to start with that. We know that it wasn't a big component of the previous comprehensive plan, but is that document used or referenced at all by this group in any way?
The
You're
previous
speaking about PROST?
The comp plan.
The comp plan.
By me.
Yeah, Nikki, what are you looking at it for?
I used to be in the streets department, so I used to do a lot more with the looking at it for various things in streets and sidewalks and trails. But now that we've created the Parks Department, the PROST has really become my kind of my Parks Bible.
Perfect. Any other potential uses of the community plan or comprehensive plan? Okie dokie. That's totally fine. I mean, it makes sense that this is a slightly different focus, but just want to make sure we touch on that. So looking at the PROST, similar with the comprehensive plan, it's probably a bit outdated at this point, and that's why they're both undergoing a bit of a refresh. What would this group say has really risen as a community priority from the previous 2013 plan?
In what, like in the context of PROST or sorry?
Yep. No, sorry. Yes, in the context of PROST, but that could be that they want a specific recreation amenity, that they want more connections to Forest Service trails or something like that. Just a particular initiative that you see has a lot of community backing or support.
I think the trails is a huge thing, and we get a lot of support about trails and most of the time. Biking opportunities are actually, most people do support them, although apparently we have a few loud people that are against some of the things. The upgrades of the rink facility has been very popular, get a lot of backing on that one. Those are at least a few.
Yeah, and I think also in the last, I want to say in like 2021, PROSAB did a bunch, 2021 and 22, PROSAB, which was mostly different people, did a bunch of community charrettes and outreach asking people about, specifically about the trails part of the master plan. And so to just build on what Nikki said, there was a lot of sort of desire for connectivity and accessibility. Really, those two things were like a huge theme coming out of a lot of those charrettes. So we didn't ask in that thing, as far as I know, and Sam can correct me if I'm wrong, but we didn't really ask about like recreation amenities. It was really mostly
Yeah.
about like, here's the trails plan and what would you like to see or change or have improved.
Yeah.
But and we do have the data from that if you would, and Alex and
Yeah.
Sam have been working with that in terms of the PROSAB update.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I was gonna
Okay.
say, like, we went through a lot of it was like handwritten. Like we went to farmers markets and the food pantry and community events like Wild Bear, and we have a spreadsheet with like categorizing all of the handwritten items and like categories were like maintenance, accessibility, commuting, wayfinding. I'm looking at it now. In town recreation, and then we like came away with kind of some big themes from that, which Kat mostly touched on. But again, that was pretty trail focused. It wasn't too much like recreational assets focused.
Mhm. And what was the like kind of need getting to that point to have this like interim engagement opportunity?
Can you say that again or say what you mean more?
Yeah. So like it sounds like you did a very specific like trails engagement and outreach. Was that because there was a lot of community focus on trails or people didn't like the existing amenities? What was the context there?
That's a
Sam, do
good
you
question.
I'm trying to think like what initiated that. Nikki, do you know
Yeah,
why we
remember.
initiated that? Like I did it, I was part of it, but I don't actually know, thinking back, like why it was initiated.
I mean, it was
I
definitely in
remember. No, I
anticipation of
remember. It
growth.
was because of the capstone student project that we had going on, and they needed information about trails, and we were doing a whole ADA accessibility. It was part of, actually, it's going to be part of our PROST update. Some of the information that came out of those meetings. I'm pretty sure that was why.
It sounds
Too long ago.
right. I think it was a little bit before I came on, meaning like it was started and then it was in motion, and so I was like, oh,
Yeah.
cool, I'll be involved. But that's a great question to ask, and you would think someone would know.
CT might remember. And
Be reasonable to know.
That if you talk to CT, he might remember. If you talk to the BOT, Eric Esmel Coombs, he's one that was involved at that time too.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually
Yeah.
a good point. We can ask Eric.
So it sounds like trail connectivity, trail maintenance generally was a priority. Do you feel like there's anything from the 2013 plan has kind of fallen off the list as a priority? Things that might have been popular or cooler in 2013 that are just not community priorities anymore?
The swimming pool initiative, the swimming pool was very popular and it's still popular, but it'll never happen. Boating on Barker still has a lot of, there's a lot of people that still like that idea, but it's really been a challenge to try and move it forward. Trying to think of what else is on there. But I think those are probably two that are maybe should still be on that list, but they're going to be way more than 10-year projects.
Yeah, and I also think like we don't necessarily have the answer to that because we haven't replicated the intensive surveying that was done for the 2013 project. So I think like Nikki knows a ton and has a really good pulse on the community and talks to people all the time. And the rest of us talk to people too and like hear things and whatever, but like we haven't, and that was one of the questions I had was because when I saw in the comp plan, there is some sort of surveying on priorities. So, and we talked about that, the need for that a couple of meetings ago. So it'd be great if we could dovetail that and sort of get the answer to your question through the comprehensive plan rather than having to duplicate work. But I think your best bet is to like do exactly what you're doing is get the vibe from like Nikki and members of this board. But I think we don't have that information in the way that it was gathered 10 years ago.
Yep.
I
That makes
guess I would
sense.
also say like a relevant difference is with when the PROS was written, the prior version of the PROS, there wasn't a parks department. So that has
That's a
kind
good
of
point.
fundamentally changed how the town approaches just trails and recreation management / that might have been even a goal, and now I can't remember because it's been a couple months since I read it,
I
Nikki,
think it
but
was. I think you're right.
yeah,
Nice.
or creating a recreation district or something. But I just think that's like a material change that isn't reflected in the prior post.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
I think that's a good point.
I think we'll often see, like right now, pickleball is having a huge thing. Like 10 years from now, is that still going to be something that everyone's considering adding facilities on? Like, who knows? So that's kind of where that question was coming from, of what relic of 2013 maybe doesn't get included anymore. But it sounds like that will be a part of this next planning process. The early results from the open house and survey, I'm happy to send like pictures of the boards, and we'll have the survey results when we wrap those up. But right now, the top one on funding priorities was to maintain existing indoor and outdoor facilities. That's in relation to like developing or expanding opportunities. So kind of a focus on maintaining what's currently there, maintaining and enhancing the walking trail system to better connect desired locations. So again, that focus on trail connectivity, I think both from Nederland to external locations and then also within Nederland is really important. And then the what's missing was pool, and shower facilities at the gym. So like those were the two main items that we're collecting. But there is also other context there. So when we wrap that up, I'll make sure to send it over.
Sweet.
So could we just leverage, like, because we've kind of been struggling, the prior post has a whole, like, very in-depth survey section analysis of the data from a pretty thorough survey. Are we able to just leverage the data from the comprehensive plan survey that's relevant to parks, trails, recreation? I think we're all worried about like survey fatigue / you all are obviously like professionals at this and we're not.
So we're happy to share our questions and raw data. I think that the one issue will be the depth of questions that we asked is not going to be to the same depth that you probably asked in 2013. So if you are interested in trends over time, it would be really important to ask some of those same questions. But you can definitely include as a summary of community opinion that there was in 2024 there was a focus on these 3 facilities, a focus on maintenance. But if you want that like time series and trend over time, it would be important to replicate that. Okay, so getting past planning a little bit, are there any, I guess this is mostly outdoor recreation, are there any like land parcels or new amenities being developed that, land acquisition or something like that might come into play?
Wingate is a newer
I said
property.
the Wingate.
It's kind of finished, paying that area off. There's no real plan for any new land acquisition. There's some talk of annexation of a couple of different places, but that's that's not my department. And then there's a lot of collaboration that could potentially happen between the Wild Bear nature
Okay.
center. And
Mhm.
it's a desire of, it has been a desire of PROSAB in the past to create a recreation corridor up in there. So that would be us collaborating with Wild Bear to try and make a real cohesive natural recreation corridor up in that same area. That's also the area where our rink and tennis courts and pickleball court is now.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
connectivity piece of that too with the trails up in that area. But there's no plan at this time to buy more land. Although it's probably
What about AmeriGas, Nikki?
well, that's a dream. So the AmeriGas site is currently owned by a woman who rents it to the AmeriGas. It is a desire of the town board as well as PROSAB to purchase that piece of land. We have some grant monies that we've been kind of sitting on, hopeful, or not grant monies, monies from previous projects and things that we've kind of been sitting on a little bit. With the hope that if that land ever was offered to the town, that we would have some kind of a down payment on it.
Mhm.
But that's not, I mean, she hasn't budged on it yet. I think Nicole Sterling, one of the BOT members, was kind of trying to pick at that. So I don't know where she's at with that. But yeah, it's absolutely, if we could have it, we would take it in a heartbeat. There's another piece of land down in that same area that belonged to Lady Glenna Carline, another really gorgeous piece of land that would be really neat to add to our town. But whether that would get added for housing, I think we're actually like on the verge of potentially losing a park for housing right now. That's kind of it's been a discussion item anyway. Not popular with me because I don't like losing parks, but at the same time, I understand the need for housing.
Yep.
Which park?
What?
Which park?
It's only just being discussed with the loss of the town shop site, potential loss of the town shop site, that potentially they could build housing on Tilden Park or Angel Park. It's only been discussed. It's not happening, but I'm gonna need PROSAB to champion for me on that for sure.
What about any of the county easements that are either right in town or on the periphery of town? Are there any collaboration opportunities there?
We fight both the city of Boulder on a daily basis, down on the shoreline of Barker Reservoir, and with the trails that are already built there, we have daily requests to maintain them, and it's not our land. City of Boulder is really, really hard to deal with. The Boulder County pieces where we touch with Boulder County, we actually have some pretty good collaboration with Boulder County, especially around the Mud Lake area. They're really easy to work with. But the city of Boulder is a much different game. Do a lot of fire mitigation projects with Boulder County.
What about
Okay.
like near the high school, Nikki?
That's not town land, except for the water plant. That's the raw water intake is owned by Arapahoe Ranch. Kayla Evans, her family owns that piece of land. So we have an easement from Arapahoe Ranch to access our raw water intake on that property. So I don't know if you've had a chance to talk with Kayla. She's a gem of a human, very opinionated, as you'll get around here.
We haven't. But good to know. So most of the Boulder County collaboration, that's on parcels north of town, is that correct?
North of town, a little bit on the south side with the areas of like West Magnolia, Sugar Mag Trail.
Okay.
Yep. currently have a request in with Boulder County. I've had the request in with Boulder County for 6 years or so to try and well, that the sidewalk line on the Eldora line ends right at the Eldora turn, and I've been requesting that the Boulder County would help me to continue the sidewalk all the way up to the high school. That would be, I mean, I've had a lot of meetings about it, but there's a very small amount of money with a lot of big players. So, and that project would be more than $1 million. So,
Yep. Okay, so for the most part, we've generally talked about outdoor recreation. What about any indoor recreation programming gaps that this board might be, or activities or programming, I guess?
So you'd have to talk with Dawn at the community center about most of the indoor programming. She's the one who runs the indoor pickleball and the basketball, things like that. We've got a couple of like we have a bicycle program, we have a soccer program, a basketball program, but we don't run those. Those are run by either a private citizen or the BVSD. We offer soccer camps at Chipeta Park in the summertime. We have we had some money that was given to us through the Metro Football Funds, about $21,000 that I planned on using 5,000 of that to create a junior firefighters camp, and then divvy out the rest of the remaining monies to different organizations that are in this area, because there's a lot of good programming already here. We just don't know about it and see it. And so to try and offer some money to some of these other different programs, like the indoor climbing gym or the pottery or teen center, where they have, they do Friday night dances and stuff. But that's actually been pulled from my hands now and going to be a discussion with the BOT not until April or May. So a lot of the indoor programming is either through the community center or through different organizations around town.
Okay. What about funding? What is this board's role in terms of funding new initiatives, funding new development? Are you looking for grants? Tell me more about that.
Who wants to take that one?
So I'm constantly looking for grants. Alex, myself, the rink board, Miranda, tennis board, we're trying to get a grant for the facility at the rink. We do a lot of like GoCo type grants. I finished a GoCo grant last year. Thank God I finished that grant, and constantly on the prowl through Colorado Health Foundation, through GoCo. There's even a gardening grant that I'm going to try and go for this year. I've got to think about what as far as grants go. I always, especially this year, we're in a really tight budget year, so it's a lot of that. I guess the downside to getting grants right now is that I have to find the match for it. I've got to find in kind.
Right.
Yeah, but the rink tennis board and Alex and they were, when we were trying to find support for the rink facility, they were very successful in raising over $100,000 in pledges in a matter of days. So it is possible. But yeah, that match thing, we no longer have a staff that's capable of providing a whole lot of in-kind. So it's hard for the town to commit that in-kind piece. I've had other community champions, Jesse Sievers has probably been one of them many times, that actually donates their company's time and company equipment and things like that. So, but funding is very challenging for sure, especially because when we compete for grants, people see Boulder County, they say that we're in Boulder County and assume that we're a wealthy community, and we're really not. So it seems, a lot of times we're competing against big players. So.
Yeah, I think so. This definitely anyone welcome to sort of push back on this, but I think that so we did a goal setting process with this board a few months ago, so we can share with you kind of what the board's top priorities are and how those dovetail with the town strategic process, which outlines what Nikki and her team's priorities are. And ultimately for the PROSAB priorities, we didn't put sort of specific grant seeking outside of anything attached to stuff that's already happening, like the rink on there, for a variety of reasons, one of which was kind of going into this year, the theme kind of from the town was to like finish up projects, strengthen the team, like support the team, and like set the stage to be able to grow in the future, but not try to like start a million different projects in 2024, but instead try to really help be supportive of the town staff, really kind of solidifying, training the team, retaining staff, paying them well, that kind of thing. And so I think like that's not something you can get a grant for, right? No one funds general operating support, especially not for municipalities. And so outside again of like the rink and really specific projects, that's not something that's on our priority list. That doesn't mean that it's not incredibly important to figure out how to increase revenue and stuff. But I think like next time we do a goal setting process, the thought will probably be like, how can we help increase revenue and put money into that, park specific budget? I don't know, grants will definitely be a part of that. I also think it's really important for us to not just do grants since they're so restrictive and they really don't help build the structure of the organization that has to then like actually do the work. So just that's like kind of my 2 cents on that. But just to give you a little bit of background, I'm also happy to share those 2 sets of goals with you if that's helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Are those different than the objectives on the PROSAB page right now?
You'd like the web page? Oh, I don't
Yeah.
know if are they on the website? The ones that they're on the agenda.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Hey,
I mean, it'd be
this
great
is Peter.
to look at those.
I think it has the old PROSAB objectives on there right now.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think they've been updated, which, yeah, we should do that. But yeah, so they're on the agenda. Wait, was that Peter?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were on, Peter. Hi.
Yeah, I turned on the live stream, so I figured I would like hang out.
Totally, got it. But yeah, so what's on the website is from several years ago. So it would be what's in the agenda. I'm not sure if you have a link to that, but again, I'm totally happy to send that to you. And then the town staff priorities, which dovetail with ours, are just from the town strategic plan, which I'm sure you have a copy of.
Yep. No, I think that really makes sense, and I appreciate your comment about the grants as well. I think managing a grant is huge, and so once you go down that path, like it can become really, really onerous to manage all the reporting and the funding. So I completely understand that, and you're right that it's not always a sustainable way unless you have a very targeted, we're ready to construct, we need a grant, let's go for it. Awesome. Okay. So anything else when it comes to funding difficulties? Sounds like there is community support when there is like a very concrete initiative put forward that people will rally around.
Yeah, like just for the rink, I think in like 2 weeks, Nikki, we were able to get over $100,000 in pledges, just like individual contributions. So that was like a good example of kind of being able to galvanize the community around a project.
Yep. Yep.
And Wild Bear Projects raised $7.6 million all in cash fund. Like that's just rallying and community support, and not just community support, but statewide support. But it's $7.6 million. So when there's a genuine interest in something, yes, we as a community can do big things.
Yeah. What is the Wild Bear Project?
It's a nature center. It's going in.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
Yep.
Got it.
Really good.
Okay. And then can we jump really quickly to federal land managers and relationships and coordination with Forest Service representatives?
Yep. We work a lot with the Forest Service up here on fire mitigation projects, different things like that. And other than that, well, I guess there's a spot in town that's actually on forest land, but they kind of donated it to the town. It's called Kendall's Corner. It's attached to the elementary school, and it's a little tiny little amphitheater space that that we kind of maintain with the BLM. And so far I mean, we don't deal with them, and in my capacity, I don't deal with them a whole lot, other than fire mitigation projects and different trainings like that, and and the occasional, God forbid, wildfire. And then we work with them. But other than that, there hasn't really been a lot of work with the federal government.
For the egress, was there any Forest Service collaboration, Nikki?
I think there will be.
Yeah.
If it just, I mean, I guess it depends on the final route, because I think it does. It's a couple of those spots had a national forest, depending on the route. But yeah, I didn't think about that one. The egress is Boulder County, Town of Ned, Fire Department, potential Forest Service. That'll be a collaboration when it's done out of the planning phase.
Yep. And remind me, is the Hesse Trailhead, is that Forest Service, CPW, who all is involved there?
Boulder County and Forest Service.
Boulder County and Forest Service. Okay. Is that
The
something
top
that
actually owned by the city of Boulder?
Okay.
And no, we don't do anything with that.
Okay, great. So that was just their own project and not really related to Nederland. Okay. Do you feel that people are interested in like having more access to sites around Nederland, like connecting from Nederland?
For sure.
And which direction mostly? Like to like north parcels, to Forest Service land, to county land?
There is a shuttle that goes from Nederland to Hesse. The RTD will take people up to the Eldora. There's a new shuttle service that just recently restarted called the Peak Connector, something like that, that'll take you from Gilpin County to Nederland and to Ward. That's a baby project done by, I say it's a baby project. It's a big project, but it's a brand new one that Katrina Harms is working on. And she's
it's called Mountain Rights, by the way.
Thank you. Thanks, Peter. Yeah, so that's Katrina Harms doing that one. As far as like, trails and bicycle opportunities and walking opportunities, I think there's a lot of desire for the connectivity piece. Could we sustain a shuttle in town? I don't know. We can't hardly even sustain the shuttle that was going to Gilpin into Ward. So I don't know if we can do it strictly in town.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. I guess I think the vehicular transportation part is really important, but I think there's also like trails or pathways, connections as well that could be strengthened. So I'm curious if that's a priority. But can we talk a little bit about trail maintenance and how that gets done? I'm seeing on your old objectives to collaborate with city, county, wildland restoration volunteers, but maybe talk about some of like the local presence and trail stewardship.
Well, my department maintains that there's certain trails that we do maintain year round. There are other trails that we mark as unmaintained trails, just mostly because in the wintertime they become impossible to maintain. There is some of the funding to redo or revamp trails has come my way through the DDA this year. So we'll be redoing the trail that goes from behind the hotel to Chipeta Park and getting better access to that pedestrian bridge area.
Yep.
And then I have community champions. So Jesse Severs is one of my champions that loves to work on trails. And so we'll pick a couple trails this year that might need more maintenance than others and try and knock out, a couple at a time with volunteer groups and things like that. As far as staff goes, I don't have the capacity to maintain every trail, and there's some trails impossible to maintain year round. So I always rely on my champions, though.
Yeah, and PROSAB has explored, well, one of our goals is a volunteer program, which could, in theory, support some form of trail maintenance and or free Nikki's team up to do more trail maintenance. And then we've considered, but not moved forward, adopt a trail program.
Are there any vocal, I don't know, we have a big mountain bike presence where I live. Is there a vocal local group that's advocating for more like user specific trails?
Is Jesse still on? Because Jesse should talk about
Yeah,
this. Yes,
I
there
can
is.
jump in or Jesse can.
There's a lot. That Wingate property is got a conservation easement on it, and one of the things that we have talked about is a downhill mountain bike course that would then also serve as we would have like basically two lanes. One would be a downhill course, and the other would be for walking your bike up. There's Nato, there's Simba. That's the kids mountain biking group. There's I'm certain maybe you've heard of the Tin Shed that rents bikes and sells bikes, and that yes, there's a big push for mountain biking. Jesse's still on? Because yeah, he would be the one.
Yeah, I'm on here.
Talk about mountain biking.
Yeah, there's a good movement advocating for mountain biking. I would say historically it's been kind of run or done by NATO, which is Netherlands Area Trails Organization. Lately, I feel like they haven't necessarily been super active in terms of advocating for new trail developments in town. They did a lot of the work on West Magnolia, and so they have, to their credit, done a lot for mountain biking in the area and hiking trails too. And within town, though, I think that there's a nonprofit called Peak to Peak Endurance that is Gavin Coombs, who's been doing a lot for biking in the area. Sam and I have kind of taken Nikki's suggestion to work on the pump track and ran with it. And we did an informal survey to just see what kind of support there was in the community. We got a ton of signatures, and the response was overwhelmingly supportive to
Like
to
400 people.
move that forward. Yeah, about 400 people represented
Yeah.
there. But as far as like an organized group, like, are you from Leadville, Aiden, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm familiar with Cloud City Wheelers, I think, the kind of the bicycling group up there. We don't have a formalized bicycle advocacy group here, so that I feel like has been a little bit to our detriment as far as getting more bicycling infrastructure in the town of Ned. But I feel
Right.
like Sam and I are kind of doing what we can to kind of carry that torch forward the last couple of years on PROSAB. Nikki and I went to Bentonville this past year and did their IMBA Trail
Wow.
Foundation. So we got sort of like
Yeah.
we sat in a 2-day conference and learned about kind of just the benefits to bicycling infrastructure and to communities, and kind of how the public process is for kind of going about that. And there were a lot of other parks manager, sort of Nikki's parallel in other cities there. So I think that was good for her and I to get that exposure to those trails. And I think we're just kind of at a young stage there. The Parks Department is new, and Sam and I are kind of really trying to take up the torch and run with it, and move it forward as best we can. And so, yeah, that's kind of the overview as far as I can see it right now. Sam, feel free to fill in anything more on that if you want.
I think that's the big thing. And then there's like I think a general desire, like you were talking about a little bit earlier and asking about, to connect trails through town to the major hubs that we do have around here, and really making that happen.
Yeah, and then
it's-
the one
Go
thing,
ahead.
oh, sorry, I was just going to say the one thing I would add to that is you're definitely right. There is a huge mountain biking community here. I think it's less focused on sort of like the stuff that Jesse and Sam are talking about, like sort of building more trails and that sort of thing, and more of the like riding and recreation. So in addition to NATO, which, and the Tin Shed folks who do like a ton of trail maintenance and in different spots like West Mag, there's also a women's mountain biking organization that I'm part of, the Shred Ned Lady Riders. So if like, if it's mountain bikers that like would be an interesting like demographic to reach out to, there's definitely a lot of different like hubs of that. There's also like a co-ed group that rides out from Tin Shed. We ride out on Wednesdays, not in February. But again, it's not a trail building advocacy group. It's like a go ride and get more women to ride group. Not that I'm sure like plenty of people would be interested in that sort of thing, but I'm just saying to build on what they were saying, that's not like necessarily something that is like an organized group here. And then like the Boulder Mountain Bike Alliance people sometimes come up and chime in to meetings, which can ruffle a lot of feathers because, to put it mildly, for local folks, I am agnostic. I don't know anyone there, but I just know that that's like definitely a tension. But I think the majority of people up here wouldn't consider that their advocacy organization. They do come up here a lot.
Right. Yeah, I think this is all helpful ways for us to interpret the results that we're seeing, because when we see, trails connecting to key destinations in town, we are thinking the more pedestrian walking trails, kind of what you have along the river going from downtown to the park area. But in some communities that might mean we want single track to get from house to work. So I think that is the balance that we're looking at there.
Yeah, it's actually a really good question, because it's like really kind of unclear in previous surveys, like what exactly people mean. So I do think it's a good thing to look at to figure out like what are people really asking for when they say trails is like everything here,
Yeah, right. Or is it like paved bike trail, like kind of same thing, multi-use. Okay, I know we're getting close to time, so I just want to make sure that
we have just like a couple minutes left. But sorry, I got engaged in the conversation. I should have been keeping track.
You're good. That's what we're here for. are there anything that us as the consultant team can really promote in this plan that would help this board better do their work? Is there mapping resources, financial resources, staff resources, education? What sorts of things would help you have the tools to achieve your goals and objectives?
And the only thing I can think of off the top of my head is like a PROSAB member specifically is like the results of some of the public outreach that you're doing, I think will be incredibly valuable for the PROST update and just for our work in general.
Yeah.
I had to step away. Could you repeat the question?
Yeah. Are there any resources that we could promote in this plan that would help you and the board do their work? So that could be financial resources, educational resources, mapping, things like that.
Money. Money is always important. I'm always trying to grow my staff. Because what I'm finding is that the volunteer piece is not nearly as it was reliable as it was many years ago. And the volunteers come to you untrained, you got to train them, and then that takes all day, and then they don't come the next time, so you're stuck with a new group. But so I think staff is important. But money, funding, taxes. Hate to say it, but trying to figure out how to bring in more money, revenue.
I don't know if this is like totally my place to say, but I do think like back to your point about grants and like how much actual grant management can take, just like not PROSAB specific, but comprehensive plan in general, like just as my own personal opinion, I think like some sort of person who can actually shepherd projects forward and manage some of the components of both grant writing and also grant management, such that like the town staff or volunteers who are doing the work of the implementation of the grant don't also have to do that, and to provide continuity because as you can tell, right, like 2 years ago, this board was 100% different. Or maybe a little more than 2 years, but like to provide some continuity, some sort of like, project manager type person seems to be like a huge missing thing that could really, really help with like, really getting things done for like all sorts of different projects.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you everyone for your time this evening. I will make sure that these survey questions or stakeholder questions get out to you, Kat, so that you can involve the other 3 members who weren't here this evening. And if they have specific feedback, we're happy to gather that. And then when I close the survey, I will make sure to have the results available to this group.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Yeah, just if you all can get my email if you don't already have it, and then shoot me a note just so I have your contact information, and we can get you our goals as well. So.
Yeah, I actually don't know if I have your email because everything is like listserv in Netherlands. So I'll get that I'll get that from Miranda.
Yep. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And have a great rest of your meeting.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Have a good one. Bye.
Oh, and I lost my agenda. Hang on, let me go find it. Sorry, just one sec. Does anybody have the agenda handy and can say what's next while I look for mine?
It's PROST, but I don't think we have a PROST update unless Nikki or Sam have a PROST update.
The only update that I have is that we received chapters 2 through 4 back from Allison from the Colorado Tourism Board. with some of her edits, but we are not planning on resuming Prost meetings until February, correct? Wait, it is February. uh, so soon we're gonna start having meetings again.
Cool.
Can you
Yeah,
follow up with Miranda about that, Nikki, about if we're supposed to meet again?
I can actually just forward you Allison's edits. They're quite good.
I'm sure.
Not a whole lot that she added to our stuff, some verbiage changes. And yeah, I'll forward it to you and to Sam. You guys can check it out.
Thanks.
Cool, thank you.
Thanks, Nikki. All right, so then we move on to informational items. Nikki, staff report.
Okay. I'm getting to it. Doing too many things at once. I just started multitasking. That's a terrible idea. All right, so let's see. First, I want to say that today I went up to the Wild Bear site and talked with Jill Dreves about the recreation corridor planning grant that she'd like to go for in collaboration with Wild Bear, the town, and maybe even the elementary school, BVSD, and potentially Teens Inc. So while at that site, Jesse, you've done a fabulous job tearing up the earth over there. It looks awesome. But what's really going to be awesome is how awesome it is when it's done. She would really love to get as many people involved in this project as possible, and would gladly give a tour to anyone who would like to come on site. Right now, they passed an inspection yesterday, so they're backfilling today, planning on putting in some plumbing, and then they'll start the framing work. It's an 85,000, 86,000 square foot, Jesse, correct me if I'm wrong, square foot building that is just going to be an incredible gift to the community. So I highly encourage you to all make a point of trying to get a hold of Jill Dreves, and if you haven't already, get a tour of that site. It's really something. And the ideas that Jill and I threw at each other today about, planning the recreation corridor up in there were, she really got my brain moving, and of all the different ideas, connectivity in town, and working with Wild Bear. Governments don't raise money. We don't. We charge people taxes, and that's how we get our money. Nonprofits raise money. So to try and get this partnership between Wild Bear and the town a little more solidified is something that I really highly recommend that we do. The month of January, we had that big snow at the beginning of the month with that super incredible snow, cold snap. And so parks ended up having to work with streets a lot. And our sidewalks got crushed in that storm, but we got the rink open. So if you see the sidewalks in town doing really, really good, the rink is failing. But if you see that the rink is doing really, really good, the sidewalks are failing. So there's no shortage of stress for me and my staff. But we got that rink open. We had a tri hockey event where the Colorado Avalanche came up. Their mascot Bernie was here. It was so. I got teary-eyed when the Colorado Avalanche, because I'm a huge hockey fan. See, a huge hockey fan. That's my jam. And 2 bumper stickers on my car, and they're both Colorado Avalanche. So I got teary-eyed when the Colorado Avalanche pulled their trucks into the parking lot at the rink, and just to see all those kids out there with little Avs gear on and Bernie the mascot, and it was really, really a very, very cool day. And so what the Avalanche do is they go to different elementary schools and teach the kids how to play floor hockey, and then they bring them out to the rink. They provide all the gear and the helmets and all of the things, and get them out onto the ice and teach them how to skate. It was really an incredible day. So hopefully we can get a lot more support for our hockey program up here. The NYHA program forgot to file their one of their forms they forgot to file and they lost their nonprofit status. And so Gavin Coombs is actually going to be, this is the rumor right now. It sounds like it's going to happen. Gavin Coombs is going to step up and take over the NYHA program. And hopefully we can get some more participation and support in our community for that really, really cool program. And other than rink stuff and plowing sidewalk stuff, utilities department got a new Bobcat, so we did a Bobcat training. And then a couple of my guys went to Jesse Sievers and did some excavator training. Is that what that was? With the streets department. So that's kind of where we're at. It's just a lot of rink and a lot of moving snow. Hopefully we'll keep getting snow. That's all.
Thanks, Nikki.
Mhm.
Anybody have any questions?
Is the ring still open, Nikki? I thought I saw it
It's
had
been,
closed.
this has been the worst, and even I've got Scott Porter is actually one of my staff members, and Scott Porter has been a volunteer for the rink he's been their maintenance lead over there, and he's on the board as well. Alex knows this, but he is he and Tim Murphy is they've been up weekly. We're fighting the rink so hard this year. It has been the worst winter ever. Even the snow that we got last week, we got that pretty heavy snow. It was so wet that it turned the ice to slush and we couldn't get it off the ice. So when we finally did get it off the ice, we recovered for a week. And then today I had to cancel the adult drop-in hockey tonight because it was so warm and sunny that it melted, big patches of melt. With the snow, the thing is with snow is like you got to get it off the ice as quickly as you can because it insulates it and it turns it to slush and it makes these bumpy, horrible spots. So, so guys and I will be removing snow from the ice tomorrow morning as soon as possible. The temperatures this weekend, it looks good for it to be open for disco night on Friday and party skate on Saturday. If you guys see people, please plug those things for me because last Saturday, we did a date skate and nobody showed up. Not a single person. Brian was out there with the fire pit all by himself shoveling snow. So plug those things for me and that would be really helpful because that's a big source of revenue for us is those open skate events. Looking at next week's weather, we're looking at, high 40s and full sun on Monday and Tuesday again. So it's just constant battle at the rink right now. There's nothing I can do. We need a roof or at least a partial cover. We need to pour a curb because we're losing water and the water underneath is like moving. It's like moving water. So, and as you know, moving water never really freezes. So, any other questions?
Thank you for the update.
Thanks, Nikki. All right, so I think the only other stuff we have in the agenda is quick updates on PROSAB goals, if anyone has any. So I think we've already cleared pro stuff there. We've got our pump track update. I think we just got our rink and tennis update. So Lindsay, is there any volunteer program update or?
Not much of one. Casey and I were able to connect and discuss the volunteer initiative a little bit, but then we came away from next steps for each of us. So it
Cool.
is in progress.
Awesome. Thank you. I do believe that is for this month. Is there any other business?
I was
Jesse?
just gonna say on rink. Oh, sorry.
Alex, you
No,
go
go
first.
ahead, Alex.
Oh, I just the other update on rink is we're meeting with a group next week with the mediator and then hopefully things, I know Nikki's excited. We've all met with the mediator individually, but now we're going to meet as a group and then we can hopefully get moving in a better place forward towards the Go Code grant cycle. So
He
Send
called
us
again
lots of prayers.
yesterday. Yeah, no, right. Seriously, he called me again yesterday and said, gave me some updates on some of the discussions that have been had, and I was very surprised to hear that Dallas hasn't called him back yet. Because I feel like they're in this mediation process. But yeah, he's challenged. He's like, I just don't understand this one. I don't understand where the hard feelings come from. I'm like, I don't know either. Just
That
like a
makes
lot
two
of
of
big
us.
boys and pissy.
Yeah. That's all.
Well, Godspeed with that. Jesse?
Yeah, I just wanted to offer maybe like a food for thought, or a possible topic that I might like to bring back to you all, just kind of get a little bit of a temperature check with all of you. I was chatting with the mayor the other day. Our daughters are besties, so I get to kind of just check in with him casually on occasion. But we were just talking about summertime access to Eldora Ski Resort. And, we were both sort of just thinking and strategizing a little bit around how could we help Eldora as a town of Ned to get better summertime access for hiking and biking and just enjoying the great outdoors up there, because they have so much parking. And the little town of Eldora gets so overrun by traffic from down below, and they have the shuttle, and then their parking area fills up, and it's almost all summer long. And I know, that the folks up there are kind of tired of all that traffic in the Hesse trailhead. And for those of us who live in Nederland, like I don't know about you guys, but I don't even consider trying to go to Hesse trailhead anymore. Like, yeah, 10 years ago, I used to love going up there, but now for the last, 3 or 4 or 5 years, it's like, it's not even a consideration because of how overrun it is. And those of us who live up here know that there's other good spots to go, and just stay away from that insanity. Whereas meanwhile, Eldora Ski Resort has a giant parking lot that sits empty with great access to the forest and the Forest Service. And Billy and I were just chatting about what we could do as a town to sort of convey to both Boulder County and to Eldora Ski Resort that we would very much like to have summertime access up there for Nederland people. I think it would be a benefit economically for us, and it would be a benefit for those of us who live here to have that opened up a little more. And my understanding of the history of why there's not currently summertime access up there is because of some difficult negotiations that happened 20 plus years ago. And there was some bad blood between Boulder County and Eldora around their use permit. And so their use permit got created, and it was incredibly restrictive. So Billy and I were talking about how we would both be kind of interested in having the town of Nederland take an official, have an official opinion. And it would be kind of along the lines of a resolution where we would, and I think it would be best if it came from PROSAB as a recommendation to the BOT, that we can basically, as the town and through the BOT, essentially adopt a resolution that would say something to the effect of, we would like to see summertime access to the Eldora ski area, and we would like for Boulder County and Eldora ski area to work that out. And then that would empower, Miranda, Billy, the mayor, and, Nikki, to whatever extent she may be involved in anything along those lines, to basically be able to sort of take an official position on it, and to have an opinion on it that would be representative of the town. So I was thinking that if you all thought that was a good idea, I would be I would be looking to kind of bring it back as a discussion or an action item for us to make that recommendation to the BOT. And so I just wanted to see sort of like if there was any sort of sense of an appetite for anything like that amongst this board.
I'll just chime in one thing. If I'm excited about the idea, have been for a little while. And additionally, if we do move it, it'd be cool if we could move it to an action item sooner, because then it's got to also go through the BOT cycle of many months, and sort of where that becomes important and where something might be able to happen is during the summer months. So the sooner we could move it from our board, if that's something after we discuss it, is excited about, then it'd be great to move it over to the BOT so that it could get that, because it'll take, what's the cycle over there, Jesse, for moving it through?
Well, I don't
Reference.
know what the public process would be for something like a resolution. It might be less formal, but for things like ordinances, we have to have it as a discussion item initially, and then a public hearing and an action item, and then it can get passed at that point. So it requires at least 2 meetings, and sometimes it even goes through the planning commission as well for something like an ordinance. Whereas something like this, I think, is less formal. It's almost kind of like that ballot initiative that we mentioned earlier, where it's non-binding necessarily. It's a resolution, so it's just sort of like taking a position on the matter. It's sort of like a matter of opinion, but it's a little more formalized, so that the mayor could then be empowered to represent the board and the people of Nederland in talking to the officials at Eldora whenever he crosses paths with them, or talking to any of the Boulder County commissioners and telling them like, hey, Nederland would really like to see you guys get this done.
Didn't it have something to do with Forest Service too, and migration patterns or something like that as well?
Yeah, there are like various landholders that the ski area it is on, but my understanding is that Eldora owns a lot of their own land, and the use permit is really governed by the county in terms of what they can and can't do throughout the year, and that is in the process of getting updated right now. And I believe that the Boulder County commissioners also have an interest in updating it and making it a little more user friendly for people to use in the summertime, because I think they realize that the shuttle service and the parking to Hesse Trailhead is pretty ridiculous. So that was an idea. I thought I would just kind of check in with you guys on it. Not necessarily put it on the agenda, but if there's an interest amongst this board to do something and make that sort of recommendation to the BOT, I feel like, and I feel that the mayor also feels like it would be best to come from the Parks Board, because it's kind of a Parks and Recreation interest, if you will.
I'm in support.
Thoughts, Alex? How about you, Kat and Lindsay?
Support.
And Nikki too. Curious to hear your thoughts too, obviously.
Yeah, I say, yeah, you want to put it on the agenda in March? Wait, it's February, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
in March.
Yeah, definitely. Cool.
Can we put it on as an action item for ours, do we think? Can we move it straight to that?
I think so. I think we'll bounce it off of Miranda, obviously, but
Yeah.
my understanding is that it's a resolution. It's not too there's not a whole lot of legal framework around it. Alex, maybe you can speak to that a little bit.
Well,
No,
we
I
don't
was just gonna say, you can pick my brain if you want. I work for Vail, so I don't work for Powder, but I know a decent amount about ski resorts. So if you want to
cool.
talk about that, happy to.
Yeah, and in terms of,
I'd love to chat with you more offline.
you can put it on the agenda however you like if you think we have the information. Like my main concern putting the agenda together would be, do we have enough information to actually make a recommendation on this? But this isn't like us actually making a recommendation for town to like sell a piece of land or like, right? It's to make a recommendation to like ask someone else to do something. So I'm not really particularly concerned about like, you know, having
It's
like
sort of just like,
before we put on this.
yeah, it's kind of just like having a formal opinion. I feel like
Yeah,
it's not
totally.
really like there's no
So
teeth to it per se.
yeah, it's like we would like you
It's
to do
like
something.
yeah, like throwing our weight as a board behind it that represents
Yeah,
the
which I
park
think is like a
infrastructure
totally legitimate
the
role
area.
for this
Yeah.
board. So cool.
And potentially like a highly functional solution for a serious problem that the area faces, you know.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah, Eldora and Billy and I were talking about how Eldora, some of the executives told him that they really consider Boulder to be their ski town. And he said he's lived in a lot of different ski towns over his life, and he's seen a lot of just bad blood between towns and ski resorts. And he feels like, you know, to the extent that we could have a cooperative and mutually beneficial relationship with Eldora would be really great. And it'd be great if we could kind of be Eldora's ski town, you know, in terms of reaping the rewards of it at least. And obviously we don't want to ruin our town or lose the soul of our town or anything. But if we could have a mutually cooperative and beneficial relationship with Eldora, I think that could be in everyone's best interest. So
Well, thanks for bringing that up.
yeah, that's all I got.
Cool. Thanks, Jesse. All right, last call. Any other business? All right, anyone want to move to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Seconded.
All right, meeting adjourned. Air gavel. All right, y'all. Have a
See you
wonderful
guys.
night. See you soon.
Thanks. Take care.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.